Did you know that your faith has the power to transform every season of your life? Today, we're going to discover how trusting God's plan can guide you into a new beginning. In just a few minutes, you'll learn how to face life's challenges with faith and confidence, knowing that God is always at work, leading you toward a future filled with blessings and promises. After reflecting deeply on C.S. Lewis's writings, I realized these principles can radically change the way we see life's seasons and our relationship with God. If this video touched your heart and you want to continue receiving content that helps you trust even more in God's perfect plan for your life, subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you won't miss any inspiring content that will help you walk with more faith and confidence. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you'll always be alerted when new videos about faith, trust, and new beginnings are posted. Join us on this journey of spiritual growth. Have you ever felt lost, not understanding what's happening in your life? It can seem like no matter how hard you try, things just don't align the way you expected. Sometimes we feel like we're stuck in a cycle, facing the same struggles over and over, and not seeing the way forward. Many of us experience times of uncertainty, where the path God has for us feels unclear. But the truth is, God is always with us, even in those moments of confusion. As C.S. Lewis wisely said, God often uses life's challenges to prepare us for something greater than we could ever imagine. It's in those tough times that He is shaping us, building our faith, and setting us up for a future full of His promises. Today we're going to explore how to trust His perfect plan for our lives, even when the seasons seem hard and we can't see the outcome. And remember, just because you can't see it now, doesn't mean God isn't at work. In this video, you will discover how to recognize God's purpose in every season of your life, even during moments of uncertainty or difficulty. Life can often seem confusing or full of obstacles, but when we learn to trust in His perfect timing, we can begin to see that every experience, whether good or bad, is part of His greater plan. We'll explore how embracing the new beginnings God is preparing for us can unlock doors to transformation, growth, and deeper faith. You'll learn how trusting His plan brings peace, even in the most challenging times. Understanding that God is always at work behind the scenes, guiding us toward a future full of blessings, gives us confidence in our journey. As you continue to walk through life's ups and downs, you will see how God's presence is with you every step of the way, preparing you for the greater things ahead. Trusting in His divine timing allows us to live without the burden of anxiety, knowing that each moment is leading us closer to the fullness of His plan and His promises for our lives. This video will show you how surrendering to His will can bring deeper peace and clarity, even when the path ahead seems unclear. Each of our lives is not a random series of events, but part of a divine plan that God has designed from before our birth. Every detail of our journey, every moment of joy, every challenge, every pain, and every victory fits into a larger divine blueprint that God has for us. A design that, although we don't always fully understand, is filled with purpose and divine wisdom. Most of the time, we are so immersed in our own limited view of things that we fail to perceive the greatness of God's plan for our lives. But He has always been in control, guiding us at each step. As C.S. Lewis describes in Surprised by Joy, our spiritual journey is not just a random succession of events, but a carefully orchestrated journey by God, one that leads us into a deeper connection with Him and the fulfillment of the purpose He has for us. Even in our darkest moments, God is present, silently at work, shaping us and preparing us for something greater. He uses the highs and lows, the difficulties and victories, to purify us, strengthen us, and guide each of us toward the divine plan He has in mind. And in every part of that journey, He is there, transforming us into His image. Now think back to moments in your life when you felt lost or unsure. Perhaps you felt like you were taking steps without knowing exactly where you were headed, or that the future seemed uncertain and unclear. Yet, even in those times, God never left you. He was there, quietly guiding you and preparing the way for what was to come. When we look back and see how He was with us in every stage, we begin to understand that even in seasons of pain, He was working to bring us closer to His perfect purpose. Every difficulty, every tear, was an opportunity for Him to shape our character and strengthen our faith. What often seems like a senseless struggle is in fact part of His divine plan, and in the end, He uses it to make us more like Christ. Today, take a moment to reflect on how each phase of your life has been part of God's divine plan. What were the biggest challenges you faced, And how did God use them to bring you closer to His purpose? What lessons did you learn in those times of adversity? And most importantly, how can you see God's hand guiding your life to this point? When we begin to recognize that every phase of our lives has a divine purpose, our faith is strengthened. We know that every step, every moment, every season is part of a greater plan God has for us. And when we trust fully in His plan, we can walk forward with confidence, knowing that He is leading us to the best that He has for us. Even if the way seems hard or the future uncertain, we can rest in the truth that we are exactly where we need to be, being shaped for the perfect divine plan that God has prepared for each one of us. At times, life can feel like we are adrift, unsure of the rhythm and timing of God. We often find ourselves asking why things aren't moving as quickly as we expected, or why the path ahead is unclear. It can seem as though we're stuck, constantly waiting for the next step to unfold. But in Ecclesiastes 3:1 we are reminded that there is a time for everything. Each phase of our lives is ordained by God for a specific purpose, even when we don't fully understand it at the moment. Our natural tendency is to rush things, to force the process to align with our own desires and timeline. But as C.S. Lewis wisely points out, patience is not only one of the greatest challenges we face, but also one of the greatest blessings we can experience in our spiritual walk with God. When we try to rush what God has planned, we risk missing out on the lessons He is teaching us in the waiting. In Mere Christianity, Lewis discusses the importance of waiting on God's perfect timing, even when our own desires or anxieties urge us to act prematurely. During these seasons of waiting, we are being shaped and prepared for the next chapter in our lives. Though waiting can be uncomfortable and sometimes painful, it is in these moments that God refines our hearts, builds our character, and strengthens our faith. He uses these times to teach us the power of trust and to help us rely fully on Him. It's in the waiting that we grow spiritually and learn to depend on God, even when we can't see the full picture. Impatience often arises from a lack of trust in God's timing. If we truly believe that God is sovereign and that His plan is perfect, we must learn to trust that His timing is always the best for us, even when we don't fully understand it. We tend to be impatient because we want to control the situation, to make things happen on our own terms. But God's timing is always better than ours. His understanding of what we need, and when we need it, far exceeds our own. And by trusting in His plan, we open ourselves to the good things He has in store for us. As C.S. Lewis wisely observed, true spiritual growth happens when we learn to rest in God's will and accept that, at times, He calls us to wait. Waiting isn't a sign of inactivity, but a process of preparation. God uses those waiting moments to strengthen us, teach us to trust Him more deeply, and prepare us for what's next. The lesson is not just about waiting, but about learning to trust God during the wait. It is in those moments of surrender and trust that God does His most powerful work in us. Now, take a moment to reflect on areas of your life where you may be rushing the process. Is there something you believe should have already happened by now but hasn't? I encourage you to pause and ask yourself, am I trusting in God's timing? Am I resting in the fact that He has control of my life and knows what is best for me? Recognizing that God's timing is perfect allows us to step back and release the pressure we put on ourselves. We don't have to force things. We just need to trust that He is working on our behalf, even when we don't see immediate results. When we trust in God's perfect timing, we find peace and joy, knowing that He is actively working in every detail of our lives. Even when the waiting feels long or the path is unclear, we can rest in the assurance that God is guiding us, preparing us, and leading us toward His greater plan. Every season, every delay, every moment of waiting is part of His perfect and beautiful plan for us. As we learn to embrace His timing, we are freed from anxiety and are able to move forward with greater confidence, knowing that each step is leading us to a future filled with His promises and blessings. If this video touched your heart and you're ready to embrace the new beginnings God has for your life, please leave a like below. Your support is essential for reaching more people with this message of faith and transformation. Also, share your reflections in the comments. What step of faith are you willing to take today? Your experience might be the inspiration someone else needs to trust in God's perfect plan for their life. Together, we can encourage more people to walk in faith. God is a God of new beginnings. In Revelation 21:5, He promises that He is making all things new. When God says He is doing something new in our lives, it's not just about superficial changes. It's about deep, transformative work that leads us into a greater purpose. This transformation often involves the closing of certain doors to open others, doors that might have seemed impossible or hidden from our sight. Many times these shifts happen when we least expect them, but always at exactly the right time and in the perfect way God has planned for us. C.S. Lewis, in The Problem of Pain, explains that God frequently uses our suffering and challenges to lead us toward new beginnings. He says that often, what we perceive as pain or loss is the very vehicle God uses to prepare us for a fuller, more abundant life. These seasons of transformation can be difficult and uncomfortable, but it is precisely through them that God shapes us, refines our faith, and leads us to the future He has already prepared for us. It's natural to look at life's hardships and question, why is this happening to me? Or, wouldn't it be easier if things just went according to my plan? But as we mature in our faith, we begin to realize that God is always at work in our lives. He uses our challenges, our setbacks, and our perceived failures to guide us into something greater than we could ever dream. What might seem like an end or a loss in our eyes is often, in fact, a new beginning, a new opportunity for us to grow in faith, develop our character, and trust more deeply in God's perfect will. When we look at our struggles through the lens of faith, we begin to see that God is in every detail, orchestrating every aspect of our lives for our ultimate good. Think about something in your life that you consider to be an end or a loss. Is there something in your past that you've been unable to let go of? Perhaps it's a job that didn't work out, a relationship that ended, or a dream that didn't come to fruition. How might you be able to see that situation through God's eyes? Could it be that God is using that loss to prepare you for something greater? Remember, God is not a God of wasted experiences. Every season, every door that closes, and every moment of suffering is part of His divine plan to move you closer to His will for your life. When God closes one door, He is opening a new one that will lead you to a better place, a more fulfilled life, and a greater understanding of His purpose for you. Now take a moment to reflect on this new season that God is preparing for you. In what areas of your life are you ready to start over? What doors do you need to close so that He can open new opportunities for you? It's often the hardest things we face that are the beginning of the greatest transformations. When we surrender ourselves to God's process of transformation, we open ourselves to a future filled with His blessings and divine purpose. Embracing new beginnings is never easy, but it's always worth it. Even when it's difficult to see the way forward, we can trust that God is leading us to something far greater than we could ever imagine. God's plan for our lives is always bigger than we realize. Each new beginning, though sometimes painful or uncomfortable, is part of a greater story. A story in which God is working through us, shaping us, and leading us into His will. And as we trust Him through every change and every transition, we can move forward with confidence, knowing that He is the one opening doors and leading us into a new season of blessings, purpose, and growth. Sometimes it's hard to understand why certain things happen in our lives. We might feel like we're doing everything right, yet still face challenges, setbacks, or unexpected situations that leave us confused or questioning. It's in these moments that we wonder, why is this happening to me? Or why isn't everything working out the way I imagined it? But what we often don't see in the midst of our struggles is that waiting and difficulty aren't setbacks. They are opportunities for growth. Every moment that we feel is a delay or detour is actually a chance to strengthen our trust in God and align ourselves more closely with His perfect plan. As C.S. Lewis wisely said, faith is not just about believing that God exists. It's about trusting in His perfect plan, even when we don't understand the roads He's leading us down. It's easy to believe in God when everything is going according to plan, but true faith is built when we are asked to trust in the unknown. Faith is not about taking huge leaps all at once, but about making small steps every day toward God. Each time we choose to trust Him, each time we bring our doubts and fears to Him in prayer, and each time we choose to wait for His timing, rather than rushing ahead, we are taking another step toward His purpose for us. Remember that transformation takes time. Spiritual growth is a journey, not an event. It's a process that involves patience, perseverance, and trust. Each step of faith, no matter how small, brings us closer to becoming the person God desires us to be. It may not always feel like progress in the moment, but trust that God is working in you even when you can't see it. You might feel like you're not where you want to be, but the very fact that you're moving forward, trusting in God, is progress. The best is yet to come. The road might be long, but with God walking alongside you, you can face any obstacle. Don't give up. Keep trusting even when the path is unclear. Trust that the challenges you face now are part of God's perfect design, and that each moment of struggle is preparing you for something greater. Trust in His timing. Know that the season you are in is not wasted. God is working in every step of your journey, even if it feels slow or difficult. And when you choose to rest in His timing, you open yourself to His blessings and the fullness of His plan. The best is yet to come, and with God by your side, you are exactly where you need to be. If this message has touched your heart and you're ready to take the next step in your faith walk, I encourage you to get involved. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What step of faith are you willing to take today to embrace the new beginning that God has prepared for you? Every act of faith you make can be an inspiration to others, showing them that trust in God's perfect plan is the way forward. Together we can walk in faith, knowing that God has a divine purpose for each one of us. Let today be a new step towards the blessings God has waiting for you. Every new chapter of our life is an opportunity to witness God's constant love in action. Remember that even in moments of uncertainty, God is always present, guiding each of our steps. Faith isn't about understanding everything that happens. It's about trusting that He has control and that everything He does has a divine purpose. As C.S. Lewis wrote, God transforms our lives in ways we may not always see, but His work is always perfect. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. May you be filled with peace and hope, knowing that God is guiding your life toward a future full of blessings. Continue moving forward with faith, knowing that He is never late. God's timing is always perfect, and He is working in you and for you at every moment. With Him, all things are possible. Keep trusting in His plan, and let Him lead you into the future He has prepared for you.